Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. My name is Jørgen Ertnes, and I am a solution architect here at Ignite Procurement. What that means in practice is that I spend my days working closely with procurement teams across the Nordics, helping them to understand what kind of data they have available, how we can bring it into Ignite, cleanse it, consolidate it, and most importantly, ensure that we can turn that data into real measurable value. These days, there is a lot of buzz around AI, how we can use it and so on. And Ignite, we feel we are sitting in a prime position to utilize this. We already have a platform to collect your procurement data in one place, spend, supplier data, contracts, sustainability perspective, the risk, and so on. We have the subject expertise. And then these days, with the new technology, applying agents on top of that data to automate tasks, identify new opportunities, basically eliminate that administrative load that doesn't add value. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today, going through 4 use cases in our platform that our customers are using every day, see how it works, how it can save our time, surface hidden value, and help you make better decisions. So those 4 use cases, we will look through how we can follow up payment terms, more specifically discrepancies between the contracted payment terms and what is actually invoiced from the supplier. We will look into supplier bundling, basically trying to understand, going through all your spend, understand where do you have synergies across the different business units, where you can consolidate the supplier base, get better terms with the suppliers you select. We'll look into an example where we use the AI to prepare a supplier negotiation, collecting different data, and then also coming up with a suggested strategy into the supplier meeting. And the last example, trying to forecast spend, simulate different scenarios in the future. What will spend look like if demand increases and so on. And we will save some time in the end for a Q&A. So feel free, and I encourage you to leave your questions in the chat, and I will go through those in the end, trying to answer as many as possible. Also good to be aware of, we are recording this session and we will share it afterwards. We will send it on your email, so you know that. Good. Before we dive into the platform and look at the specific examples, I just wanted to take a moment and reflect on what does procurement intelligence, or spend analytics for that sake, what does that look like in 2026? And I mean, even in Ignite, we started with static dashboards, and that is great for reporting on KPIs, monitoring your spend, listing the top 10 suppliers, and that kind of basic insights. But when it comes to more multi-level reasoning, what we see with actual users in Ignite is that 60% of the time when they create custom dashboards, they basically look at it once and then they never open it again. I mean, then it's a lot of effort to create a whole dashboard for that. So for those cases, a chat interface on top of your data is much more efficient. I mean, we're all getting used to that in ChatGPT or Claude and that kind of tools. But in Ignite, we provide that on top of your procurement specific data with the context, with procurement specific context as well. And we'll see some examples where that kind of interface makes sense. And then we have the agents, which you can apply, you can set to work continuously, automate less value creating tasks, going through your data, identifying opportunities, collecting data, and even getting to starting to execute on those opportunities. We'll also see an example how we can apply it, how we utilize agents in Ignite. Great. Then I think we are ready to jump into the platform to see what it looks like. And the first example we will look at today is payment terms, which is I will just let me figure out my screen here so I get the right resolution like this. Payment terms. And what we see is, what we will look into now is how we can validate that we get those contracted payment terms that we have negotiated, spend time with the supplier to negotiate your payment terms, validate that we actually get those on the invoice. I mean, from finance perspective, this is important. Interest rates are increasing, capital cost is increasing, and finance wants to reduce working capital. From procurement perspective, typically we see that companies have a standard or a default policy on what the payment term should be. They negotiate that into the contract, but there is no, if you want to validate that you get this, monitor the actual payment terms, you need to first identify the payment term in the contracts, open up the PDF or go into the contract system, cross-reference that with the invoice data, identify the gaps, and calculate the cost of this. I mean, this takes time, and let's be realistic, most of the time you're not prioritizing this. But with an AI, this becomes much more efficient, and you can start prioritizing or doing those tasks you didn't have time for previously, detecting new value in your data. In Ignite, we have an AI agent going through contract documents to extract the key terms, such as expiration date, payment terms, and so on, making it super efficient to have those data points available for the AI. So that's a prerequisite. And then I will go into Ask Ignite, which is the chat interface on top of the data. I have prepared a prompt for this, where I basically am asking the AI to identify discrepancies between what is the contracted payment terms and what was actually invoiced. And then in addition, I'm instructing it to calculate the cost of capital given 10% cost of capital. So what's happening now? Basically the same tasks that you would do yourself, retrieving the different data, the contract data, the spend data. And one central principle we have in Ignite when it comes to using AI is that we want to make it transparent. So here we see that it explicitly provides the formula it's going to use when calculating the capital cost. It's retrieving different the contracts we have with the payment terms, the actual payment term, and so on. And then let's see if we get a result there. Yeah, identified 3 contracts where we are paying earlier than what was contracted. You can see the gap and as well the actual capital cost, the lost money on this. Good. So that was the first example, making it much more efficient to identify those that lost money, to take action on it. And this example, we were looking at historical data, trying to monitor that. For the next example, we will try to look into the spend and identify saving opportunities. And one of the most typical and most efficient and powerful levers we see that procurement teams are using is trying to to consolidate the supplier base, reduce the tail for relevant categories. And a prerequisite for this is that you need to categorize your data. So in Ignite, we use AI as well to map your spend data, your invoices, your purchase orders to the relevant categories, which then makes it possible to identify, okay, which suppliers are actually delivering, providing similar goods or services that is interchangeable. And based on that, we can then apply, run an agent going through all the spend to identify opportunities. So to look into that, we have the savings module here, where the tool is basically coming up with possible saving opportunities that you can validate, and if it is relevant, decide to act on. They have different levers, different kind of opportunities. The first one here is basically one where you have a good negotiation position with the supplier. But in this case, I want to look. Let's assume I am responsible for professional services. So I will apply a filter on this category, and then I see that I have an opportunity within the executive search category. So let's look into those details. And again, providing transparency, ensuring that the end user understands the reasoning that the AI is doing. We find that central for the end users to actually act on it and understand the background. So in this case, the agent has identified that we can take spend from 4 suppliers and potentially give all of that to one supplier, expecting better terms, giving us a better negotiation position. But of course, and the background for this, to understand kind of what dimensions has the agent considered, you can see in the reasoning. So first, it is checking, okay, are they actually providing similar services in this case? So in this case, they all deliver executive search. It is in this case, it has identified that we have an active group-wide contract with Egon Zehnder, covering multiple business units and the relevant regions. So checking the regionality of the supplier, is it relevant across the whole group? And as well, in this case, we don't have any active agreement with these suppliers. So that means probably we are in a good position to eliminate them. And then the agent as well provides some further insight, visibility into what's actually going on. So here we can see the distribution of spend with the different suppliers. So Egon Zehnder, they are actually the biggest supplier already, but still significant spend we could move to them. And as well, what suppliers are used in the different business units. So again, we see Egon Zehnder is used across most of the business units, indicating that they are a global supplier for this service. And then diving even further into the category. So the agent identified a consolidation opportunity. And then given that you want to act on this, you can then create a savings initiative for this, setting who is responsible and so on, connecting it to the actual data in the solution, making it possible to calculate the baseline for this initiative, the relevant spend, and as well what is the expected savings, define the savings types, and so on. And this all comes then back to our savings tracker, where we then can follow up ongoing initiatives, realize the savings, and also what is validated on the P&L. Good. That was the second use case, using an agent to go through all the spend, continuously searching for new saving opportunities. Third use case, I will move back to Ask Ignite. And in this case, I mean, we have now identified a saving opportunity. We have created the initiative. Then you're going into a negotiation meeting. And what we hear from our customers is that they spend hours, if not days, preparing for such meetings. They need to understand what are we buying from the supplier, what's the contract situation, what the financial status with the supplier, are there any other risks we need to be aware of, and then coming up with a strategy and what discussion points do we need to cover in the actual meeting. And this data as well, in many cases, that sits in different systems, making this very cumbersome. But with all the data in one place and the AI on top, we can then collect all of this very efficiently. And in this case, we have actually prepared a skill in the tool where we have given the AI knowledge and context, what kind of information should it collect when preparing a negotiation. I'm not going to run it now. It takes, as I saw in the payment terms, it takes 30 some seconds or something like that. But I have pre-run it. So let me open up what it does. So in this case, I told it to prepare a meeting with AGL. It then defines, okay, what kind of tasks does it need to do based on the context and the knowledge we have given it. Doing data queries, just as you would need to go to different data sources, connect it. The AI is automatically doing this. And then coming up with a brief in the end for you to very efficiently prepare for the meeting. So some highlights here, the spend with the supplier last year, the share of wallet, super interesting KPI. In this case, we as a customer make up 4% of their revenue. So probably we are one of the most important customers, giving us a better leverage into those negotiations. They are the third largest raw material supplier we have. So they are important to us as well. Good to be aware of. Spend change actually decreased the spend with them quite significantly last year. Contract status, it's expiring in June, so good to be aware of. Contract loyalty, we see that we have some spend going outside the contract. Could we exclude or extend the scope of the contract to ensure that we get discounts on that part of the spend as well? Different dimensions it's going through, different risk dimensions, financial, supplier financials, and so on. What other suppliers do we have in the same category? What alternatives do we actually have? And then in the end, a recommended strategy. A recommendation for how we should approach the supplier meeting, what discussion points we should bring up. And at this point, as I said, we hear from a lot of customers that they spend time preparing for supply meetings. And I'm a bit curious for you in the audience, how much time you actually spend on preparing supplier meetings. So I have prepared a little poll where you can provide your input, how much you typically spend preparing for a supplier meeting. Started it now. Happy if you would just take 2 seconds going in and giving your input, and then we'll summarize in 20 seconds or something like that. See, the answers are already popping in here. Yeah, it seems like there is a trend at least here. Definitely the up to 4 hours is the dominant one, but also quite normal to spend a whole day preparing for a supplier meeting. I mean, that shows that there is significant and real time to be saved by having an agent doing the groundwork, collecting the information. I mean, you still need to digest this and do the meeting, but real time to be saved for sure. I guess I didn't, not sure I actually showed the result. I saw the results that they were coming in. Now I'm sharing as well. So the end result, 58% up to 4 hours, 19% spending a whole day preparing for meetings. Good. Let's do the last example. And in this case, we will try to look into the future. And what we hear from or being requested from customers and prospects is that they also want to look into the future, trying to forecast what's going to be the spend moving forward. And historically, with static dashboards, that's been a bit difficult. But with this kind of AI interface, it's possible to simulate different scenarios, go back and forth to understand what will be the effects of different scenarios. So in this example, I have prepared a prompt where I'm telling the AI that we expect an increased demand for a specific product. And I'm then asking it to simulate what's going to be the spend effect given either 5, 10, or 20% increase in demand. And then also some details, what dimensions it should consider based on this. And again, same as we've seen before, it defines what kind of task it needs to perform, what data it needs to retrieve, queries the data, and then coming up with the end result, giving it insight into, from a category perspective, what are the affected categories related to this product, what will it be the spend for the different scenarios in those categories, what suppliers are affected for this product line, the new spend given different scenarios, and as well what will be the share of wallet with these suppliers. I mean, it could be that we get that because our position as a customer improves quite significantly, given that we increase the spend with the suppliers. And then as well, from a contract perspective, do we actually have contracts in place to cover this increased demand? In this case, we see that we already have 50 million in spend not covered by a contract, which will then increase by 60 million, 10 million in increase, if you don't do anything, given the increased demand. And then in the end, the AI highlights what are the key risks that we are aware of. We notice that for lubes, we already have basically the main customer, and we are going to increase our position with that supplier even more, which we should be aware of. Do we need an alternative supplier for this material? From a contract perspective, we have one contract expiring in June, one in May that we should renew. And there's also one contract where we have a ceiling on the delivery on 40 million, which we will exceed with the extended demand. Definitely something to be aware of if we actually can deliver the increased demand. Great. That was my last example. So we have seen how we can apply AI on top of the data foundation that we have in Ignite, where we already have collected procurement data, spend, supplier, contract, risk, sustainability, everything in one place, enabling the AI to take away that administrative effort, collecting data, going through data to look for opportunities, so that you as procurement professionals can spend your time with stakeholders, with suppliers, providing the actual value that is possible. Good. See, we have 5 more minutes. I think that's perfect to round it up now and have a look if we have any questions. Let me go over to the control console here to check. Let's have a look. Yes, here we have one. So there is one question. I'll try to share it as well. So the question is related to the negotiation preparation. I did not see the supplier share the percentage of the relevant categories. This is an important indicator of potential spend growth. Can you please have this back in Ignite? It was there back in the day. Good question. I'll take that with me to the product side. And I mean, also when it comes to these skills for the negotiation preparation, we have given it context and input on what it should present. I mean, here there is potential to improve on that. And I think this is good feedback on that, understanding how important the suppliers are in their category. And then a second question here. I'll open it. Did I understand correctly that Ignite AI can read information from contract files, not only metadata? Yes and no, I think is the correct answer. So we have a specific AI extracting or digitalizing the contracts, basically, reading through the contract document and extracting key terms. However, as of today, the Ask Ignite module we are looking at in most of the examples now, that has currently not access to the actual contract documents. But I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And this is just the beginning. You can notice we have a beta tag on it yet. So I think that that's something for us to consider. Yeah, and then there is one question in private here as well. Basically, yeah, what information is required to do the forecasting example? And it's a good question. We need some specific data to do that. In the specific example I did now, we had a bill of material as part of the data. So basically, what articles going into each product you're producing, so most relevant for a manufacturing kind of company. But it could also be that the spend is connected to different projects, so that we can say we are going to do another project of similar to a historical one, simulate the spend given this assumption. But we need to connect the spend to some kind of production or delivery dimension to do this. Good. I'll check if there are any other questions. Doesn't seem so. Yeah, one more actually. On the negotiation preparation. Can you ask it to compare 2 suppliers side by side? Yes, it's a simple question. I mean, we have the negotiation preparation skill, and that's created to look at one supplier. But it would be fairly easy to, I mean, in the prompt itself, what to say, instruct it to compare to do the preparation, but compare 2 suppliers so that you can understand where they have strengths and weaknesses and so on. Good. That was what I had prepared. Some good questions. Happy that you joined today, and thank you for participating. Have a good day.